Hey everyone, we're back here with another Fantastic Forum one shot, and this time we're bringing you Joe's impression of um, Star Trek Lower Decks on CBS All Access. It's a series about 10 episodes, I believe, if I remember correctly, and yeah, it's Oz hates it, so he's gonna have fun editing this. You might get interruptions from him telling us we're full of shit while he's editing because I don't think he's gonna be able to resist. But without further ado, here's my man here, Joe. He's gonna tell us a little bit about what the series is about and his impression of the first episode.
So Star Trek Lower Decks is about the people that don't get screen time on the regular Star Trek shows. The people that do like the engineering, like deep engineering, like not your commanders, but your lower ranking people. They handle things like Second Contact, which is just a hilarious concept. And it makes sense because like you would definitely need people to go and make sure the planet's name is spelled right and like to shore up everything after first contact is done. And so this is that crew. Like imagine a show just about broccoli, but good. Which I'm assuming everyone knows who Broccoli is, but Broccoli was a minor character in Star Trek The Next Generation. He was basically a nobody, but he still got like 2 episodes dedicated to him, despite that. And that's basically what this is, a whole show of that guy. Except much more entertaining.
Broccoli wasn't entertaining.
He was okay. I mean, he
But it's
was...
just
His personality, he was like the nervous kind of guy, like nervous, shy. Like his episodes were okay, but they weren't great. Like it's not that they were uninteresting, but I guess like if someone were to tell me they didn't remember his episodes, I would not be surprised.
now this series is created by Mike Mahan. We've reviewed another one of his series, Solar Opposites, on Fantastic Forum. And how do you feel like his transition to this, Joe?
I think he does good. Like they definitely don't feel like the same show. Although that might have to do with Dan Harmon. Like Solar Opposites did feel a lot like Dan Harmon. So I'm guessing like he kind of took the reins on that, and Mike McMahon was doing this.
You mean Royland?
Royland, not Harmon. I'm sorry.
I was letting that out.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think this is good. Like he did a really good job. Especially like he actually wrote the first episode, and yeah, it does a great job of introducing the crew and the concept. And yeah, it's amazing actually.
The first episode, it has a really cool little introduction to the 2 main characters, or 2 of the main characters rather, Boimler and Bennett or Beckett Mariner. And I just from that opening scene where she's looted all this like storage shit, and later in the series it comes to play why she was carrying all that stuff with her. It's like a little throwaway thing that just comes to it comes full circle later on, and
Right.
she can't pronounce Battleth, but she ends up like chopping a chunk of Boiler's leg off,
Right. I
and
mean,
it's just
we should mention that I don't think she could pronounce it because she was drunk at the time.
right. She was
Like she
drinking
hangs out with Klingons, so I'm sure
Yeah.
she pronounced Bakla. But yeah, like it's a good introduction. But the thing about it though is that we've seen these archetypes before. You know, the straight lace, goody two shoes, and the rule breaking. You know, the rule breaker that like doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's a good intro, but they do a lot more with these characters. Like, it doesn't stay like, it would be easy for them to just play like that's the only thing going on, and it's not. And the characters actually, like, they do get into the characters more, and it ends up like they end up being like really fleshed out at the end. And
Yeah.
even more importantly, even though they're archetypes you've seen before, they still manage to be interesting, which is the most important part. Like, I wanted to follow these people and see what they do.
Yeah, and then they also introduce you to two other, because it's four main characters in this series that are part of the Lower Decks crew, and other Rutherford, and I forget the green girl's name, but she's
her name is sorry, I had it right here. Tendi, Devana.
Tendi. Yeah, and she's she's from I forget her race, but they kind of later on, there's a funny moment when they allude to her people being pirates, and she goes, "We haven't been primarily pirates since like 5 years ago," and that cracked me.
Right.
But, in dealing, you get Rutherford, who has a was it cybernetic an implant that helps him adjust his emotions. I thought that was a really cool little concept that they use here. I don't know if they've done it in Star Trek, because I'm not a Star Trek guy like that, but it was.
I think it does, but that is part of it. Is it can modify his personality, which is interesting because Data actually, in the first movie, he finally gets an emotion chip that actually like works. And this takes place, I don't know if it takes, I think it probably does take place after the first movie, but I'm not 100% sure when it takes place. Like, I know it's after I think it's after the series finale of Next Generation. It's interesting because in Next Generation, at the end, Riker is piloting the Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And in this series, he's also he's the captain of the Titan. So it takes place somewhere between the present and the series finale and the future of that finale. Which, I don't know if you remember the series finale of The Next Generation.
I never saw it.
Okay, so basically what's happening is Q has come up to Picard, and he starts warping Picard through 3 different time periods. Early in his career, current in his career, and future in his career. And there's this giant anomaly, or the small anomaly, like a medium-sized anomaly. And he's basically trying to figure out, during all 3 periods, like, trying to figure out what the anomaly is and how to stop it. And it turns out it's a reverse time anomaly. So it starts off in the future, and it starts getting bigger. Like, the bigger it grows, it goes into the past. So like, it's bigger in the past than it is in the future, and you have to try and figure out how to stop it because it's near Earth and it's fucking up how life develops on Earth. In fact, it actually stops development on Earth, and so they need to like figure out how to like end it in the future so that they can so that Earth and humanity can exist.
Wow. That's really high concept for me right now. I'm still wrapping my head around.
Yeah,
now,
it's an amazing episode. Like, I love it. and it's so perfect because Next Generation started with Q, and then it ends with Q. So it's a great thing.
Now, thanks to this series, Lower Decks, I have now gone back and started watching from the beginning, which I'd
Oh,
seen those before, but I saw them as a little kid, and I was sneaking into my brother's room when he was asleep at like midnight because it would play on channel 13, and be like watching it like with the mute button, before captions, so I kind of hear a little bit, and so it's just now I'm going back because they're all on Hulu now, except for the animated series, the original animated series,
oh,
um,
okay.
and Discovery and Picard. But I'll get to those later. Uh,
They're
look,
swearing in the card. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check it out.
oh, look, after this glowing review, they might send us a review copy. Uh, I'll let you know. Um, how'd you like the little science adventure they went on in this one? The little science conflict.
What was the conflict in this one?
It was a rage virus,
Oh,
like
right.
with the sludge.
Yeah, it was good. Like, I know it's hard to remember all the specifics. Like, I just marathoned the whole thing, like, like an 8 hour period. Like, I started watching it at like, I think 10 or 11. And then I woke up at like 6 to finish the last couple episodes. So it's all kind of blended in. Like, there were a lot of standout moments that I definitely remember, and a lot of standout plots. Um, Man, there's one that is like really, really dark, um, where where Mariner gets control of the holodeck
Oh my
to
god!
like
I think my favorite.
therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I,
it was weird because I actually did feel a little uncomfortable. Like,
yeah.
right there with the uh we keep forgetting her name, but
Andy.
I was right there with her with like wanting to walk out, like, but then it was like at the end, it's like, oh man, this is amazing, and it's an amazing way like to do character development.
Yeah.
Like, man, yeah, it was just great.
Um.
And so like a bit in Temporal Edict where the captain finds out about like a buffer time that everyone says, like when they say, oh, it's going to take this amount of time to do it, it's actually more than they need, so they can like have like wiggle room where time to like be the hero if they really need it done fast. And it's amazing. Like at the end, basically Boimer is the one that accidentally lets the captain know about it, and she like tells the ship like, no more buffer time, you got to do things when we say and what we say, like what we say when we say it, and it like wrecks the ship, and they end up having a buffer time plaque honoring Boimer, who's anti-buffer time. And he's like, well, don't forget about it. And then they show the future where they're talking about him, and then they mentioned the most important man in Starfleet, Miles O'Brien,
Yeah.
famously never had used buffer time. Like, one of his first lines in Deep Space Nine, when Cisco asked him to do something, and Cisco says, I want it done in this time, he's like, no, sir, I don't buffer my times. Like, when I say it's going to take this long, that's how long it's going to take. Cisco was like, cool.
And that's where this show really shines for someone like me, someone that never really got into Star Trek, but sees something they like, and it kind of makes you want to see other stuff, because part of it's my memory, part of it's my exposure in the fandom, but I get a lot of references, but I don't get a lot of the context. So I understand the reference, but I never experienced it. And then when I go back and experience it, it's like really rewarding because I just watched the original series. They mentioned assault vampire in one of the episodes of Lower Decks, and it's
Hmm.
like the second episode of the original series or first episode, and I'm like, oh wow, that's the salt vampire. Like,
And that's kind of cool because I wasn't a big fan of the original series. Like, I would watch it a couple times when it was on, but I only remember like a couple episodes, like offhand, like the one where uh, everyone on the planet was like forced to wear a mask, and then Kurt just told them to stop doing that, and then they just stopped. Like, it was really weird. Like, what? Like, why would him telling you to stop make you disregard thousands of years of tradition? But he did it, and they stopped, and then he left. Like, he was like, "All right, I changed your civilization. Now I'm out." And yeah, again, uh, Vaughn always used to say, like, the difference between Deep Space Nine and the other Star Treks is they never had to deal with the consequences of their actions. And that episode to me is like the perfect, like, that's like exactly what he's talking about. Like, he just went in, changed the society, and then left.
they also kind of allude to something like that in Lower Decks, where like they worship a computer
Right.
and they return and they're still trying to worship the computer even though they know it's just a computer. Which I thought that was a really good episode too. Like, just that concept alone.
Do not worship. Oh man.
Now,
Yeah.
I know we're supposed to talk about this one episode, but as you can tell, there's gonna be more discussion of the rest of the series because you can't just talk about the one episode. So for the next one, I mean, if you heard Oz's, if he inserted himself into this video in the editing process, which I hope he does, you'll get some of his thoughts, and then Larry's you haven't gotten yet. But we're gonna do a full roundtable on the whole series. This is just a tease of what can come of discussing Lower Decks. Joe, any more thoughts on the first episode of Lower Decks?
On the first episode, no. I think that I did want to mention, like, we talked about Riker, and they actually did get Jonathan Frakes to come in and record for Riker, which is awesome. John Delancey makes an appearance as Q in the series. Right. That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. One of the things I forgot to mention during our Transformers My Little Pony review, like, one of the characters, Discord, is basically, I don't know if you remember him, but it's the one with the magic and was pretty much could do anything. Okay. He was in the third one, and he turned himself and other animals into Transformers. And in the fourth episode, he was the one that brought, like, all the Apple family together to fight the Insecticons. He's basically like an all-powerful magical being, like one of the most powerful beings on the planet, can do anything he wants. And he's actually voiced by John Delancey.
Oh, okay.
It's like, he's basically Q in My Little Pony. It's pretty awesome.
One last thing I wanted to say about this is that Rage Virus reminds me of that one IDW crossover event, The Infested. Remember that?
I remember it happened.
Yeah.
I remember if I read it.
I think we were supposed to read it. I think you and I actually went around the city trying to locate all the issues on the launch day. But one of them was a Rage Virus. It was like a zombie outbreak across the IDW verse, which included, at the time, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Star Trek. And I think Ninja Turtles. I think that's what it was. But yeah, I was like, I want to read that to see if maybe they alluded to something in that too. The Star Trek one, at least,
Right.
Seemed just from judging by the covers of those comics, it really kind of seems similar. Let's see. But yeah, this is has been a fantastic forum one shot for Star Trek Lower Decks, and there'll be more discussion of Lower Decks hopefully when they renew the season, and definitely for the rest of this series. But yeah, as always, you can tune in live Wednesday nights, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All the information you need about us and our show and everything is located at fantasticforum.live, and then you can get a hold of us there or tell us we're full of shit, whatever you want to do. But until next time, this is me and Joe, and we're out.